I'm the principal of Australia's only high school with a registered nightclub. And I don't believe for 1 minute that any of my teachers when I was at school thought I'd be the principal of any school. In fact, judging by the report card comments, they thought I'd end up in a different industry altogether. But here I am, the principal of Australia's only high school with a registered nightclub. A nightclub that our students operate. They do everything, including booking ARIA award-winning artists and international touring acts. That's real-world education. And I almost didn't make it through school. In my final year of school, my dad tragically passed away. And I dropped out. You could say I ran away to join the circus. My boss from work experience had offered me a job in his lab developing prints and negatives, and I took that job, and I really enjoyed it. But after 8 months, he let me go, and I was at a loose end not knowing what to do. My oldest brother sat me down and talked to me about going back to school and said I should finish my final year. Now, I know that not every kid in that situation has that kind of support, and I'm lucky that I did. But I followed his advice, went back to school, and while I was there, met an incredible mentor, my PE teacher. Not only was he a great bloke, but he had the best job in the world. Played sport all day and had 10 weeks of holiday every year. How good is that? So I was on my pathway to becoming a teacher. I went to university for 3 years to study the theory of how to become a teacher. And putting that theory into practice proves a lot more difficult than what I could imagine. One of my first teaching gigs was an all-boys Year 10 PE class, and boy did they make life tough for this rookie. But when I decided to recruit some of them into my rugby league team and built meaningful relationships with them, they slowly came on board and things became easier. I then continued to hone my skills as a teacher across the following 16 years in regional and tough cities. And I loved my time teaching in the classroom. But I'd started to get jaded and the gloss had worn off because I'd seen so many students either drop out of school or been shown the door and told to leave. Kids like me, good kids, kids who were struggling with something that was far greater than what they could grasp and handle at the same time as school. So they dropped out or they acted out and got asked to leave. I often hear a lot of people say that school days are the best days of your life. Well, if that's true, why do the stats paint a different story? 1 in 4 kids who enter school in Australia fail to graduate Year 12. 40% of students are disengaged on any given day in any school across the nation. It's clear that we have a problem. Add to these the mental health statistics for our youth, where 1 in 7 will experience a mental health problem, 1 in 10 will self-harm, and 1 in 13 will seriously consider suicide, and you can see that we have a much larger problem. I found it unacceptable that so many students were disconnecting from school, so I decided to do something about it. In 1996, a group of mates and I started a drop-in centre. That quickly morphed into a full-time youth centre. We developed job programs, a live music venue, a radio station, a recording studio, and even our own record label. And these kids who couldn't or wouldn't go to school, we found it difficult to get them to leave the facility at the end of the day because they were so engaged in what they were doing. After 6 years of running these programs, I got to thinking, we should be able to do more for these kids. We could legitimise their learning. And that's where the idea of Music Industry College came from. A school that's dedicated to students who want to pursue a music career. A school where graduation rates are above 90%, where bullying is almost non-existent, and where mental health problems ease and disappear over time. And marks improved, but that's not really our focus. And when we started MIC, we decided to strip back everything that was unnecessary. For example, we have no uniform, no homework. We allow students to leave campus when they need to go out for lunch. We even threw away the rule book. We just don't have any. But we replaced them with 4 pillars: trust, respect, community, and participation. Now, just so you know that these aren't just words on a page that we pay lip service to, I want to give you an example of how these play out in everyday life. Let's start with trust. At MIC, we expect that every member of our community is trustworthy. It's just simply non-negotiable. This allows us to give the students full access to all facilities, all the equipment, allows us to let them leave the campus to go and get lunch, not be at school if they don't have a class. And yeah, you're right, some of these kids will do the wrong thing, and even some of the staff will, and we'll have an issue with trust. What we do then is we sit with that individual and we work through ways that we can restore that trust relationship between them and the school community. Because we want every member of our school community to be a fully functional member of that community, and trust is a key tenet of that. This philosophy and style applies to each of the other 3 pillars in a similar manner. We deliberately kept the size of the school small. We started with a cohort of 27 students, and we quickly grew to our current cap of a 90. This is based on Dunbar's number. Robin Dunbar was a British anthropologist, and through his study he found that the human brain can really only cope with around 150 meaningful relationships. So given our 90 students, our 10 or so staff, their friends and family outside of school, they're at that capacity. And in order to have a really good educational experience, the research tells us it's based on relationships. We also provide flexibility at Music Industry College, because no two students are the same, and the music industry can be an unpredictable beast. A student might be required to go on tour or play a festival during school time. One example of that is Olivia McCarthy, also known as Joy. When she was in her final term of Year 12, getting her exams and her assessments done so she could graduate high school, she was called away to Sydney to record a cover of Kylie Minogue's Can't Get You Out of My Head for our national broadcaster's Leica version. The song was so successful when it was released that Kylie Minogue herself tweeted Olivia while she was in a maths class. And as you can imagine, her music career gained momentum overnight. So there was this tension between the industry requirements and her requirements to complete school. And her parents were very stressed about this issue. So we sat down with her parents and Olivia and we discussed a way that we could manage it so that she could still do her school and travel to and from Sydney to pursue a music career. Well, she graduated high school, was offered a position at a university in a paramedic course, but she also went on to have a successful music career. She's toured Europe with Demi Lovato and produced a number of chart-topping singles. We progressively released responsibility to our students as well across their 2 years of Year 11 and Year 12. One good example of that is when our students run our annual festival. Students are allocated roles that they have to fulfil prior to and during the festival. Caleb, one of our Year 12 students, was given the role of head of security. He had a budget, he had to book security, and he had to provide them with a roster. And on the day, he had to take them through an induction process. Well, about halfway through the event, Caleb was wandering through the venue, just checking to see everything was going well, and he found 2 heavily intoxicated patrons who shouldn't have been in the venue. He took them outside safely, and after he'd done that, he went searching for the security guard whose job it was to keep them out of the venue in the first place. When he found the guard, he was fraternising with 2 young female members of the public. Caleb gave him a piece of his mind, set him straight, put him back on his post, and the rest of the event ran smoothly. Since graduation, Caleb has gained employment in the construction industry as a workplace health and safety officer, a job where you have to have difficult conversations on an almost daily basis. Caleb's often told me that the skills he learnt through that festival have stood him in good stead with the work he does from day to day. We focus on skills, not scores. And through that process, magically the scores improve. And also, it takes the pressure off students come exam time and assessment times. There is an appetite for data at the moment in the education system within Australia. And MIC has the data to back it up through improvement in students' grades. But that's not our main focus. During post-graduation interviews, some of our students have disclosed to us that they were suffering from severe mental health issues and even suicidal thoughts prior to enrolling in MIC. One female student unsuccessfully attempted to take her life 3 times during Year 9 and Year 10 prior to coming to MIC. Upon graduation, she's healthy, she's happy, she's full-time employed as a photographer and pursuing her music goals as she goes along. Another example is a young man who was suffering from such debilitating bouts of anxiety and depression that he couldn't go to school at all. In fact, he found it even difficult to get out of bed. When he came to MIC, what he found was a supportive and nurturing group of peers and teachers. He was able to express himself musically and as an individual. He's now a university graduate, he's worked for our national broadcaster, and now he is manager of one of Queensland's busiest retail outlets. Not all of our students will go on to have a sustainable music industry career, but some of them will, and many more are pursuing that goal. ARIA Award winner Thelma Plum recorded a song called Father Said while she was at Music Industry College. After graduation, she uploaded that song to Triple J Unearthed, a national music competition. They chose her to be their unearthed representative at the National Indigenous Music Awards. Since then, Thelma's gone on to have multiple chart successes with her debut album, Better in Black. Another example is Marco Geekas. Marco worked intensively with his music teacher, Tom Eggett, over his last year at MIC to produce music. He released his first single, Running, while he was still at school, and it quickly amassed more than 1 million streams on platforms across the world. He gathered the interest of many people in the industry and has signed a record deal with one of Australia's major record labels. Tom has also joined the same company full-time, and although we're sad to see Tom go, we believe that the school is there to improve the industry capacity of both students and staff. See, education is not just a one-size-fits-all endeavour, and it's not something where success should be measured by a cold score that compares one human child with every other human child, ignoring their skills, their experiences, their knowledge, their passions and their pursuits. The Music Industry College experience demonstrates that there is a purpose and positive impact of allowing students to pursue the things that they love and that they're passionate about, to develop their own individual learning pathway, supported by teachers as guides and facilitators. And while we've chosen musical as a vehicle, there's no reason that this model can't be applied to dance or drama, computer gaming or coding. In fact, we're currently developing an innovation and entrepreneurial campus. Education shouldn't come down to one single school. An education system should be about providing students with knowledge and skills that allows them to lead a meaningful life filled with passion and purpose. And that is not a one-size-fits-all endeavour.